Hmm?
Stream Elements says, Old Mage Guy is now live. Streaming politics. Morning news with OMG.
It's news and politics, but hey, they've only got a politics section. They don't have a separation for it, and well, everything's fucking politics nowadays, so might as well just put it in there. Boom, 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 boom. 18 hours ago. 21. I don't think we need to go that far back. 13. Cease vaccines. Yeah, we'll start there, just because,
From
everybody needs to
December
hear that shit.
1st, upon logging into World of Warships, you'll be able to choose one of 5 free Tier 9 warships. Lepanto, Izumo.
Advisors to the U.S. Centers for Disease.
Just gonna say it now. If they're having to give away top tier and damn near top tier warships just you logging in, Misa thinks there's something wrong. You don't just give away top tier stuff of your games unless something's up. But I never saw multiple warships lasting anyhow.
Control and Prevention have made contentious decisions recently regarding vaccine recommendations, signaling a divergence from established, long-standing public health practices around the world. These moves, occurring under the direction of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., have prompted alarm among medical and infectious disease experts. Today, the CDC Advisory Panel voted to restrict the blanket recommendation for hepatitis B vaccine in newborns. This panel, whose members were appointed by RFK Jr., moved to eliminate the broad guidance that all U.S. newborns receive the Hep B vaccine. The core change in guidance is that for infants born to mothers who test negative for the virus, the decision to administer the initial vaccine dose should now be based on shared clinical decision-making between parents and a healthcare professional. This term, however, is typically reserved for non-routine immunizations and is considered poorly defined in this context. While consulting with a doctor has always been standard, experts worry this new wording will introduce confusion and create barriers to access, particularly for lower-income families who rely on programs like the Vaccines for Children initiative. Medical professionals on the committee, like Dr. Cody Meissner of Dartmouth College, strongly oppose the measure, arguing that changing the wording creates barriers to care and will inevitably lead to an increase in preventable infections among children. He emphasized, we're giving it to protect the infant against a potentially fatal disease. We know it's safe, we know it's very effective, and to make the changes that are being proposed, we will see more children and adolescents and adults infected with hepatitis B.
I think that what you're seeing is ideology supplanting science, conspiracies supplanting process. And what's happening is that there's been a vote that's conducted that really doesn't change very much. Access remains the same, but creates doubt, confusion, and will result in more children getting hepatitis B. And ultimately then getting chronic hepatitis B, 90% of them will if they're infected, and 25% of them will die early. And so as one of the ACIP members said, this is harmful, and this committee is going to be responsible for that harm and needs to take that responsibility.
The potential public health impact is significant. Delaying the initial Hep B shot from birth to 2 months could lead to a substantial rise in cases, including an estimated 1,400 new infections, 300 cases of liver cancer, and 480 deaths annually, according to a recent modeling study. Since over half of the infected individuals are unaware of where they contracted the virus, which can survive on surfaces for up to a week, universal vaccination at birth is deemed critical for providing protection before potential exposure occurs. The advisory body also controversially recommended an unstudied practice of giving infants blood tests after the first shot to assess protection levels, a measure outside the scope of its usual authority. The second day of the meeting was reportedly heated, with members arguing the vote was unconscionable due to insufficient data supporting the new approach. The advisory panel's recommendations are non-binding, but heavily influence official policy and insurance coverage. The American Academy of Pediatrics continues to strongly recommend that all infants receive the Hep B vaccine within 24 hours of birth. And in a separate alarming development, the CDC's website has altered its official statement regarding the link between vaccines and autism. The agency's website now suggests that a link between vaccines and autism cannot be ruled out, reversing the CDC's long-held and scientifically proven stance that there is no connection between vaccines and autism. This change contradicts a vast body of high-quality research from independent sources across 7 countries involving millions of people, which has repeatedly and unambiguously debunked the vaccine autism conspiracy theory that RFK Jr., who is not a doctor, subscribes to. The AAP and other public health experts have voiced deep concern, arguing that this change promotes false information and fuels vaccine hesitancy, which has already led to a resurgence of preventable diseases like measles.
Yeah, seriously, it has.
For parents, it just means confusion. So I would say that the most important lesson from the ACIP over the last few months is don't listen to the ACIP. I think that you have the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Physicians, the list goes on, who are actually clinicians that practice, that are very clear that this.
And let's be real, the doctors that have been administering these vaccines to us for, well, since we realize that we should be using them, aren't doing it because they feel like they should. They're not doing it because of Big Pharma. They're doing it because science says we need to. And I don't mean my moderator. It's not personal opinion that vaccines work. It's not personal opinion that vaccines have nothing to do with autism. These are both straight facts, proven by observation. There's no 2 ways around this. To say it's anything other is to be wrong. Factually, scientifically, and morally. And I'm sorry if you disagree with me on that one, but guess what? You're wrong. And it's not my opinion. That's scientific fact. It's not about my opinion. Yeah, I think it should happen because I can see the fucking evidence. I've seen it for years. Or should I say, lack of seeing the diseases. It's been generations for several of these diseases. It's because we keep making sure our people are vaccinated. What kind of a hellhole do we live in that government's going, oh, this might cause autism? when they still don't have a fucking clue what autism is. Let's be real.
This vote was something that will actually result in harm to children. And so, what parents should do is talk to your pediatrician. Do not listen to the noise, focus on the signal. And we know that this vaccine has a very favorable risk benefit ratio. So, why are we messing with something that is both safe and extremely important in preventing terrible complications in children? So, that
And works. Biggest bottom line there, it works. And it's worked so well, so many people have forgotten this shit's even real. So, yeah. I got some problems with you all that got a problem with with vaccines. Especially the ones that we all took as kids. Because that's the reason why your asses ain't dead. Because the disease didn't go poof. We just stopped being susceptible to it due to vaccines. Maybe that's why eradicated or extinct are wrong words to use for diseases. Because it gives you an idea that there's an end to it, when no, there's no end to it. It lives here as well. We live with it. Whether we like it or not. You get your vaccines, and you don't have to fight it.
That's what I would say. Talk to your doctor, talk to your pediatrician. Don't listen to these guys.
A spokesperson for Trump's Department of Health and Human Services stated that the previous claim, vaccines do not cause autism, was not evidence-based because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. Experts countered that this reflects a fundamental lack of understanding of the term evidence and is akin to using anti-vaccine tropes. Furthermore, current and former career scientists at the CDC reported that these website updates were unvetted and blindsided them, signaling that the agency's vaccine information is no longer considered credible by some within the institution.
You know
That's
that
a big
moment
deal.
when you suddenly realize it's December 23rd,
It is a very big deal. If your scientists in the CDC are looking at their website and going, that's not right. That is a huge deal. That's not small beans. And that's not something that typically happened. Why? Because having it accurate kept us alive, kept us healthy, kept us a good, thriving society. Not because of Big Pharma. Which, hey, guess what? Give you one damn good guess who's the biggest pusher behind this bit of it. And yeah, Big Pharma. No, this isn't conspiracy. This is literally somebody being bought out. Because at some point we decided money was speech. And companies were people. I didn't choose that. I'm pretty sure y'all didn't choose that. That came from before us. That doesn't benefit us whatsoever. Just rich bastards that already don't pay enough taxes. having fucking yachts while we're all worried about having food the next day. Fuck those bitches. Really.
Scientific organizations with consensus throughout the globe. Earlier this year, Kennedy replaced the entire membership of the influential Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices with his own appointees. In one of its first actions, the new ACIP also called for the removal of the preservative thimerosal from some flu vaccines, despite safety concerns about having it been extensively debunked. Federal health agencies have also made it more difficult for the public to access COVID-19 vaccines and cancelled grants intended to fund new vaccines that utilize mRNA technology. These actions are viewed by vaccine proponents as recklessly undermining public confidence in immunizations, increasing the risk of childhood diseases, and potentially jeopardizing the United States' status of having eliminated measles. The combined changes signal a profound shift in federal public health policy away from consensus-based scientific guidance and towards political advocacy for long-debunked conspiracy theories that ultimately will result in death. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.
I like to make sure they get their outros out too, at least fairly often. What the hell? Out of control machines. Oh, runaway auger. Wah! There you go. Yeah, runaway augers can be a little scary. I'm not gonna lie. Been there, done that. Yikes. $18. Eat. Okay, yep. That's where we want. So, looks like we got a few shorts real quick.
Immigration and migrant rights and constitutional rights are under attack by this Trump administration. And in breaking news, we have a new order that's just come out by Judge Beryl Howell, a federal judge, senior status in the District of Columbia. She's ordered that for now on, in the District of Columbia, there will be no stops and civil arrests without a proper documentation of probable cause that the person is a flight risk and is in this country illegally. This is in response to the American Civil Liberties Union, a friend here of Legal AF, of course, who filed this lawsuit arguing that there have been illegal checkpoints set up throughout the District of Columbia in which people who are Black and brown and Hispanic and Latino are being pulled over and pulled aside for warrant.
I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. For those who don't know, District of Columbia is Washington, D.C. That's what the District of Columbia is. Yes, that is American soil. Now that's been said, back to this. I really feel I shouldn't have had to say it. It feels very cringe that I have to.
Civil arrests as part of the immigration process and are being detained accordingly. Now, this Beryl Howell decision, which is 88 pages, stands in contrast to other courts who have ruled that during a criminal arrest, for instance, that certain procedures have to be followed.
If you like this update, check out and subscribe to the Legal AF YouTube channel and the Legal AF Substack.
Not bad with the mic change there, Popak. Works well for your voice. Okay, next one.
Well, Donald Trump is having golden ballroom problems again. And what does he do when he has a problem? He fires it. So now it looks like he has fired the architect he handpicked to design the golden ballroom because he refuses to accede to Donald Trump's demand that it be triple the size as originally proposed and that it be double the size of the White House next door. James McCreary II, you are now on the wood pile, having been fired by Donald Trump because you refused to build a ballroom that's twice the size of the White House. I'm Michael Popak. Let's get back to the golden ballroom.
If you like this update, check out and subscribe.
Immigration.
Oh, shit, too far. Eeh. Okay.
This game
Is the most advertised
ready.
game on YouTube.
Donald Trump looked awful.
Brand new XGP says,
seriously
are there
ill,
any right-wing politics
demented.
guys on Twitch?
Honestly, there's probably a few, but I don't know.
Brand new XGP says, I'd bet.
Good luck. No offense. Just being real.
I mean, horrific. Take a look. He's posting these photos of himself right now at an event he threw for himself to give himself a fake peace medal from FIFA. Yes, FIFA, which hosts the soccer
Brand new
tournament.
XGP says, well, I didn't think they were technically even allowed.
Yeah, there's a politics section in general here on Twitch, which I was kind of surprised too. Kick does not have politics allowed whatsoever. Even on top of that, you still have to make sure you follow within TOS, which can be difficult for a lot of people to do.
Brand new XGP says, okay, hey, thanks, W Kick.
Right? Alright. You're welcome and good luck, man. I will say, if you hang out, these guys are a little opinionated, but they do get the facts out there. Like, I was just getting ready to call this one out because it's like, okay, yes, it is very possible that it was all set up by Trump, but I highly doubt it was all set up. I very much think it's just the fact that his buddy is the FIFA guy. So it just kind of makes sense. It's not so much a Trump setup, more of a somebody kissing Trump's ass. It's like let's be real with the facts on this. I'm not gonna sit there and push extra motivation or thought or theory into something that doesn't need it. Especially when it's something as simple as that. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's not even tactical. It's just human behavior. Mind you, the corrupt side of it, but oh well. Psychology doesn't really care of corrupt or not. I mean, it kind of does, but doesn't. Anyways.
Tournament, or if you're not in the US, the football tournament, their corrupt head is colluding with Donald Trump to create a peace prize, the FIFA 2025 Peace Prize, and Trump threw an event with this guy and awarded himself the peace medal. Look at the photos of Donald Trump holding the medal. This is a look at this shot of him from the, that looks like it needs to be censored right there. Maybe we should.
Okay. Yes, he's got a turkey neck. But no, that's pushing it. Even for a joke, that's getting a little too far. Honestly, he looks like a kid who just got a nice good gold star and a pat on the back, and he's proud of himself as shit. He's like a pig in mud. And that's a psychology standpoint. That's all you can take from that. I still don't see it being a setup, especially with the way he reacted. He reacted proper for someone who deals with NPD. If it was a setup, he would have acted a little bit differently. So I can't say I see it as a setup. I don't think Trump was involved in creating this event. I think it was primarily the FIFA guy, and knowing how hurt Trump was that he didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize. Trying to be a friend / kiss ass, FIFA guy goes, hey, we'll make a FIFA Peace Prize. And I can't be upset for on the fact of a friend trying to do something for a friend. It's more the fact that it's all coming from the wrong place. I can't. I'm not going to go over my psychology now. That'll take us way into the night.
Should censor that photo. The face is discolored, the hand is rotting, the flesh is falling off of him. And then look what he's posting. This sicko is posting sicko stuff. The CDC vaccine committee made a...
Okay. Dude is scum. Yes. What the fuck, though?
Very good decision to end their hepatitis B vaccine recommendation for babies, the vast majority of whom are at no risk for hepatitis B. Why the hell are you talking about hepatitis B, Donald? You don't know what you're talking about. The hepatitis...
Okay, so Ben has let his emotions get the better of him. That's what's going on. That's where he's at. Oh, Ben. I get it, dude, I do. But you can't do that. You can't let it eat you up like that. By doing exactly that is exactly what they want. You're letting them win. That's part of the reason why I've been telling you can't stoop to that level. I'm not talking to Ben on that, I'm talking about you guys. That's why you can't stoop to their level. So that's exactly what they want. Because to them, that makes you less. And yeah, I know it's not. But if they think we're less, they're not going to listen. We've gotten through to people by showing them that we're equals. We don't think we're better than they are. And that's because we're not. Yeah, we've made better decisions at the moment regarding this one particular topic. Doesn't make us any better off. Doesn't mean we're not struggling just as much. Doesn't mean we're not caring about them. And no, they're not allowed to see that through a lot of the media sources, and starting to look like Midas might start to get there as well. Because we can't just absolutely blast on people. That's not how we get shit done. Yeah, we're going to have to sling a little bit of mud. And no, that's not what we do. But if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. Letting our emotions get in the way, that's not doing it right. That's losing focus. That's asking for them to reach in and just go poke under that weak spot. Yeah, the difference is where we show our weakness. But emotions aren't weakness, they're just manipulatable. And if you can well, not if you can, when you figure out the rest of psychology, what we've fucked up before and how to fix it, you'll see the pattern and actually be able to fight back every time. But this is not how you do it. And this is not how you constructively take care of somebody. There's a difference between chewing somebody a new asshole because you can and showing them where the facts lie, which is also seen as chewing them a new asshole. But it's a different flavor. Because you can sit there and chew them a new asshole in personal attacks. That don't make a difference. If you're sitting there going with facts and data, it makes it hard to argue unless you've got facts and data to counter it proper. And let me tell you, there's only one actual set of facts. Several different observations of facts that all have the same ring, the same equal ground. But that's also where we have to remember that people have different forms of communication, different styles of communication. And it very does much make a difference, as you all probably noticed with me, and my accent and my speech pattern. I don't know why it is the way it is. It just is. Let's get back to this.
Hepatitis B rates have gone down 99% because of the vaccine. Why do we have these idiotic people, Donald Trump and RFK, and this grotesque regime of grifters saying that hepatitis B should not be treated with vaccines in babies? These are the sickos who are killing our children and killing our country. Are you kidding me? And they create this fake medical board, the ACIP, which was previously made up of actual doctors and scientists who have been purged. And this is what you get while this idiot talks about requiring 72 jabs. The hell are these people talking about?
72, what?
By the way, please subscribe to the Midas Touch YouTube channel. You know that we're under attack.
Yeah, Ben even got red in the face. I get it, Ben, I do. You got every reason to be angry. Everyone does. Shit. I don't even know how to explain to those who still see Trump and this administration doing good. I don't know how to explain to y'all. You're being fleeced. You haven't got wool thrown over your eyes. You've been thrown in the
Stream
burlap
Element
sack.
says, find me in other places: Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. Old Mage Guy on TikTok as Mage.
Thrown in a burlap sack and hung upside down. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm saying y'all got the rug pulled out from under you for real. You believed the first impression. And that's the problem. That's part of the reason why I've always said I don't like first impressions. They don't tell you shit about somebody. First impression ain't gonna tell you a damn thing. Except that the person's nervous because they're meeting you for the first time. Think about that for a second. And yeah, that goes towards both sides, not just one. Lefties, righties, both y'alls. Technically, there's no left here in America, but beside the point. First impressions are garbage. Take 5 hours to get to know somebody before you make a judgment. I mean 5 legitimate hours where you're spending with them. Not, well, you could be doing a task too, but just chill. Not in a work scenario. You might work on a project together, sure. But not at work. Not where you're making money for what you're doing. Because that's a different focus. You need to be focused on how you two mesh together in a casual environment first. Because if you can work in a casual environment and then see how you guys kind of work in a casual work environment, if both of those go good, good chances you're going to make a good team. Good chances you're going to have a good time hanging out. You're going to have a good idea of who they are by that time. Or at least good enough that you can go, okay, I guess I could be comfortable around this person. Or this part really bugged me. That gives you a lot better understanding of kind of how somebody is. First impression, just fucking... if you're lucky, an hour? No, that ain't gonna tell you squat. Sorry.
By the Trump regime, by state regime media known as Fox. You may think you're subscribed to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel, but the algorithm just may be giving you these videos because you search MeidasTouch every day. So please make sure you're subscribed. By the way, I mean, look at, he didn't know how to put on the medal in the fake award ceremony. Look, people are watching this and they are repulsed. Read Trump's poll numbers.
I am not gonna lie. I saw this. Sorry, I read about it. And I threw up in my mouth a little bit. I had to go and get more information. When I learned that it was actually was FIFA as in the soccer tournament, or Big League Soccer, it made more sense. It still was not a pleasant taste, but it wasn't puke-worthy. Like, the headline I saw that said it was just a peace prize. I'm just like, excuse me? I can think of several other people that have done a lot better job currently. And now I see why. Because, no, it wasn't. As a matter of fact, the person that did get it did a pretty decent job. Doing actual peace brokering between nations.
Collapsing right now. He is the least popular president in modern, or frankly, all presidential history. Young people hate this guy because they know that they've been rug pulled. Trump somehow convinced young people that he was going to make everything affordable, that he was going to help them. No, Donald Trump's been a fraud his entire life. He's bankrupted this company, that company. I think if there was a...
Yes, he has. And been telling you all this shit was going to happen since fucking 2004. One way, shape, or form. Been calling this shit out. No one listened. Well, almost no one. A lot of people saw it themselves. At least some of it. I'm just glad that so far we haven't achieved the last two stages of the prediction. This prediction of 2004. Yeah. President creates no wars. Ha! My ass. President ends wars. My ass too. Yeah, that was kind of my thing, was when I was looking up, it's like, how the hell is he gonna get some peace award? For what? Excuse me. Any of the quote-unquote ceasefires that have happened? Didn't happen. Or he didn't actually broker. So, yeah, I can't see it.
Guinness Book of Records for bankruptcies, Trump would be at the freaking top of it. I want you to watch this as the CNN pollster Enton talks about Trump's crashing poll numbers among young people. But frankly, he's crashing amongst every people. He's even crashing among white men, okay? Trump's lost the white men, okay? And they held on pretty freaking long, but Trump's crashing amongst every demographic group, which is why, by the way, I think when it comes to their gerrymandering in Texas, which they based on the fact that they believe the Hispanic population would be voting for more Republicans in Texas, I don't think so. I think after you've engaged in these horrific attacks on Latinos, I know you're switching it up right now to go after the Somalians because you realize, well, maybe we shouldn't be attacking the Latinos. But the American people, you shouldn't be attacking anyone, number one. But the American people absolutely despise this regime. Here's what Harry Enton says. Here, play this clip.
From December 1st, upon logging into World of Warships, you'll be able to choose one of 5 free tier.
Huge. I mean, just take a look at Donald Trump's net approval rating among those under the age of 30. You go back to February, it was plus 10 points. Look at this drop. I'm laughing because it's down to minus 46 points on the net approval. That is a drop of 56 points among voters under the age of 30.
Is there any historically analogous to this?
This type of drop happening so quickly is just, I spend my days in the spreadsheets. You just don't see drops like that.
And again, we've been reporting about the job loss numbers, right? 1.1 million job losses in 2025, 54% more than under former President Biden, right? Under Biden, there was record low unemployment, record job creation, 16 million jobs created under former President Biden. Under Donald Trump, it's been the reverse. But Trump's awarding him peace medals and saying that he is in a golden age, that he's ushered in a golden age for the American people. Just watch this one Fox panelist. This guy used to have like a reality show too where he would help businesses. Anyway, this guy's on Fox. And here he talks about the rising small business bankruptcies. And you'll recall last month, according to the latest data, 120,000 small business jobs were lost. Here, play this clip.
I'll have to deal with this new data.
We need to acknowledge that high interest rates and tariffs have affected small businesses.
hard stop. We need to acknowledge that. We also need to acknowledge that this subchapter 5 is an easy, quick, less expensive, keep ownership of your entire business, flush the toilet, and move on process. And typically, when a company files bankruptcy, its creditors end up owning the business. In a subchapter 5, the small businesses keep ownership. So there is trouble in small business land around high interest rates and tariffs. That's a fact. And when those small businesses are dealing with higher prices, elasticity is an issue for consumers, they go other places.
Well, I have a question for the MAGAs out there. You're happy that Donald Trump's taken away your Affordable Care Act subsidies? You know, one of the things, too, if you look at these Republican red states, a lot of them didn't agree to Medicaid expansion in the first place as well. So they didn't support Medicaid in their states when former President Biden was expanding Medicaid. Okay, so the red states were like, no, that's too woke. We want to kill our people. That's not woke. That's how we show how great we are. Okay, this is freaking ridiculous. And then so the Affordable Care Act exchanges and the subsidies are how people have lived, especially in red states where they don't have Medicaid expansion. Like if you think about it in Texas, for example, I'm going to do a whole other video on Texas. You know, the average monthly premiums are going to hit like $3,000 a month. No one's going to be able to afford healthcare. And Greg Abbott's like, yeah, Texas, man, where you come to die. I mean, how utterly ridiculous. Just take a look at this stat here. 8 out of 10 of those who have coverage through the ACA says Congress needs to extend these subsidies. What the hell are you doing, MAGA Mike? What the hell are you doing, Donald? This is life or death to people. Get serious, damn it. Here, play this clip.
About 8 in 10 of those who have coverage through the ACA said Congress should extend the tax credits. That includes 95% of Democrats, even 72% of Republicans.
84% of the
All
independents.
of that's going on. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene exposing the Trump regime. Marjorie Taylor Greene explained to 60 Minutes that Donald Trump was furious at her for calling for the release of the Epstein files. I'm not going to play the video because it was on 60 Minutes, but what I will tell you about what she told 60 Minutes is that Donald Trump said the release of the Epstein files, it's going to hurt people. You know, the people he's referring to, his rich friends and likely himself. As Donald Trump and MAGA Mike have said, the release of the files could create new victims, and they consider the victims to be the rich men who are mentioned in the files, that they're the ones who are going to be victimized. How disgusting is that, what the Trump regime is saying right now? But those files are supposed to be released soon, pursuant to law. In fact, even a Florida court said they were going to release grand jury testimony because they claim that the statute overrides grand jury secrecy. We will see about that. You know the Trump regime is going to make up something when that deadline comes, so we will be waiting for that now. A few other important things that we need to discuss today together. One thing, great reporting. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, said that U.S. will betray Ukraine.
Alright, I guess I'll be right back because, oh, restabilizing. We had a little bit of a issue there. Let's check for a Windows update real quick. I hate that Windows does this to me. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Should stabilize this good.
Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, said the U.S. is playing games with you and us. Be very careful. Alexander Stubb said we mustn't leave Ukraine and Zelensky alone with these guys. You can't keep them in a room alone with the Americans. That's what the Europeans think about America right now, and rightfully so.
Blame them.
I'm going to do a whole other take on this in 90 minutes, so please check back on our YouTube channel when I do this take. But the United States put out its national security strategy of the United States memorandum, and in it, they say that their main priority will be the following. Cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations. In other words, destroying the European Union. This is official American foreign policy. Cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations. America just declared war on Europe, basically. And again, I know this doesn't get a lot of attention elsewhere, and you can say, oh, Ben, you're being hyperbolic. Read what it says. It says American foreign policy is cultivating resistance to Europe's trajectory within European nations, ending the EU. That's why the United States right now is at its weakest point internationally. Really. And I think, our former European allies, and it pains me to say that because these are our real allies, are looking at the United States like these freaking war criminals, these Putin bootlickers, these disgusting animals. What are they doing over there? These and it's Trump and what his regime has done to our country. And look what they've done to our country. More reporting about those boat strikes off the coast of Venezuela. Like, the September 2nd, the first strike, where that boat was going? To Suriname. That's like in an area like it's east. It's going in the eastward direction. That's where the South American country east of Venezuela. The boat was not even traveling towards the United States. It was going in the opposite direction. The intelligence was that boat was going to maybe meet up with another boat to potentially give cocaine. No fentanyl. There was potentially cocaine. The one boat was going to meet with the bigger boat. Wouldn't you want to know what the bigger boat was doing? You're going to kill the mules that are giving it to the bigger boat. Normally this would be an interdiction, but as opposed to a freaking war crime murder. And then we've learned that the survivors were, for 45 minutes, they were just like, they were waving their hands, help, basically, help, help, help. And then the United States military, pop, 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 the military just killed them. Just killed them. People who were in the room who saw this video, one lawmaker, a senior lawmaker, we don't know their identity because they spoke on background, said they basically vomited when they saw the video of these clear and present war crimes. And again, the boat wasn't even going in the direction of the United States. It wasn't, what are we doing? What the hell has our country become? This festering cesspool of Trumpian shit. It's disgusting. And then Donald Trump sends his grifty emails. This isn't about photo or dinner. Did you receive my invitation inquiry? I picked Ben for my inner circle. Do you want to join the MAGA Hall of Fame? I'm establishing something historic for you. You have an inquiry. Hey, it's Donald. We need to talk. It's important. I've been trying to reach you. I have a big question to ask. Drum roll, please. Should I host and do a meet and greet at Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower? I don't freaking care. You know what you should do? You should make things more affordable. You shouldn't be ripping away people's health care. You should be extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies. You should maybe figure out if you want to have your own health care plan, why don't you roll up your sleeves instead of awarding yourself stupid fake medals looking like a freaking fool? And maybe you want to help Americans access healthcare. When you claim most favored nations clause that you're going to reduce the price of healthcare so that prescription drugs are as cheap in the United States as the cheapest price that a pharmaceutical company charges in another country. Why don't you do that? Instead of saying, oh, I've reduced the prices 1,700%. No, you didn't. You didn't reduce anything 1,700%. You're a fraud. You're a con. You're a grifter. That's what you've done your entire life, and it's utterly despicable and dastardly. And we're going to keep calling it out here on the Midas Touch Network. Everybody, hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And hit subscribe.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.
Yeah. So, this is the America we live at the moment.
So I want to talk about something that's getting almost
trying to
zero
fix
attention
it?
in the news cycle, but absolutely should. Trump administration is quietly trying to sell off and open up our public lands to drilling, mining, logging.
Thank
And These are
you.
places, by the way, that belong to all of us, not corporations. But one of the main reasons that these attacks haven't gone further is an organization called Earth Justice. And you've heard me talk about Earth Justice before. They're a nonprofit legal team that's been taking the Trump administration to court over and over and over, and they're winning. During his first administration, they won 84% of the decisions in cases they brought against Trump, and they represent every single client for free. And these places aren't just about scenery, right? These public lands protect our drinking water, they keep endangered species alive, and they're one of our strongest tools to help fight climate change because
Seriously.
nearly 25% of U.S. climate emissions come from fossil fuels extracted on public lands. And Earth Justice right now is fighting back. They just blocked the Trump administration from opening one of the world's most pristine marine environments, the Pacific Islands Heritage Marine National Monument, to commercial fishing. That means habitat for 22 endangered species and millions of seabirds is protected because they took action. But the attacks from Trump are escalating, and Earth Justice needs help to scale up, to hire more attorneys, file more lawsuits, and keep winning these fights. So if you care about clean air, clean water, public lands, or the future that your kids and grandkids are going to inherit, donate at the link in my bio and fuel this fight. Every donation is going to be matched through the end of the year.
But no, that's just legit. He has been doing exactly that. And yeah, it's not good. Not even close to being good. It's actually really fucking bad. Oh. Never mind the fact that we're still using fossil fuels like idiots. And somebody can go, why are you calling us idiots? Well, because we already had the technology to not have to use fossil fuels and just overlooked it. Myself and my cohorts will be fixing that. Slowly. And no, fossil fuels will not get in the way. As a matter of fact, the change is so beautiful that we can transition to it without ever knowing that you're doing anything other than giving your vehicle some more electricity. Or switching from a fuel-based engine to a heat-based propulsion system that you never have to plug in or charge and doesn't have an end to its range. So no more gas station stops. No more Tesla charging stations. Still an insult to Tesla's name. I need to go get some more coffee. But I'll start this next one up.
Nick Ackerman, welcome back to Mea Culpa. Always great to see you, my friend. So much going on every single day. I could literally have you here 24/7, but I'm going to jump right into it because I don't get a chance to have you 24/7. And I want to... It would be a lot, right? So starting with the shooting of the two National Guardsmen outside of the in D.C. area. When you look at the details of the shooter's background, incidents, online history, all of that, what stands out to you most as a former federal prosecutor? Do you think this was preventable?
Well, first of all, yeah, it was preventable. But let me just start off what stands out to me most. was that I think it was a friend of his that said that this individual was having severe emotional problems and mental problems, and that he was mentally ill. Very much like the shooter that he drove all the way from Washington State to Washington, D.C. just to do this. It's almost a copycat of the shooter that came from the West Coast, the same place, to Manhattan a few months ago.
Right.
And, he went to the building where, he was looking for somebody from the National Football League. It's the same kind of thing. It's a crazy person. And I think the problem is with this whole business with the National Guard, when you use something like the National Guard just for political purposes, where it really doesn't have a real purpose in terms of guarding people, of doing what the National Guard would normally do in an emergency situation. I mean, here they were picking up garbage, they were, fixing lawns, they were doing things that, the National Guard, you don't sign up to do those sorts of things. And they were really leaving themselves out as targets for crazies like this who would happen to come by. And I think this was something that was raised with the administration during the course of this. They ignored it. And now what does Trump do? He's going to get another 500 National Guards people to come in to do what? The whole thing is just pure political theater with no purpose whatsoever. And it leads to incidents like this that could have been totally prevented.
I wrote in my Substack I called Policy by Panic. It's not just bringing in 500 more National Guardsmen. It's not going to do a damn thing for anybody. What I'll tell you, they're using this for, even before they had any evidence, before they had any information, before they had any idea on anything that was going in the background of this Afghan shooter, before they had anything, 19 nations back onto the banned list, right? This migration cease document, whatever the hell he wants to call it, right? They literally now are banning 19 different nations from coming into the country. And as I write into my Substack, basically what they're looking for is a white Christian nationalist country that looks just like a Norman Rockwell plate.
No, that's absolutely correct. I mean, he's using this as an excuse to just go ahead with his usual immigration, policy. I mean, he's just trying to keep people out. He's particularly putting at risk all of the Afghans that were actually assisting our troops in the course of the war in Afghanistan. People who deserved to be here, who had put their lives at stake. If they had stuck around, they would have been prime targets for the Taliban.
So let's look at this guy. Let's look at the shooter, because he was a CIA operative in Kabul for a decade, for 10 years. Came in, as correct by Trump and his administration, came in under the Biden administration, but only a few months ago, he was actually granted stay in this country under this administration. How is that Biden's fault?
Hostiles approaching. Reciprocating hostility. Helping.
What?
Trash detected.
Well, it's not. It's like everything else he blames on Biden. I mean, if there's any way, anything bad that happens, whether it's the economy falling apart,
it was Biden's fault, or it was Obama's fault,
whatever it is, Trump's normal reaction is to blame Biden. Just as his normal knee-jerk reaction to this is to just kind of up his ante with respect to immigration, with respect to people who are in the country legally, to justify more raids, to justify more National Guard. He just looks for reasons to do this. And it is such an overreaction in extreme. It is totally unwarranted and doesn't accomplish a thing.
So then let me ask this, because given the weapon that was used, the pattern of online interactions that we've heard about, and the lack of prior federal intervention, You see this as a breakdown in intelligence coordination, or do you think it's a willful political disinterest in dealing with domestic extremism?
Oh, there's absolutely no dealing with domestic extremism. That's the problem. I mean, the people who were in the FBI that were in charge of this, the people that were investigating it, they're all gone. The people that have anything to do with this, that have the background, understanding, have been on top of it, they're not around anymore. So, yeah, there is just a willful disregard to do it, all of which just, again, points to the fact that this is purely political and that any chance he gets to seize upon something that gives him his political issue on immigration, he takes it. And that's what he's doing here.
So you're trying to tell me that you don't think Kash Patel is up for the job? Is that really what you're saying to me, or that Christine Long or Nancy?
He's never been up for the job, not even close.
Yeah.
So he should be in charge of the janitorial staff at the FBI office.
The whole thing is kind of stupid and comical, except for when you have shit like this happen, right?
Yeah, you have real world results.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the problem. So, Nick, how does this attack fit into the broader pattern we've been seeing for years now, where politically motivated domestic violence keeps surfacing while the administration continues redirecting all national security focus towards these external threats, like Venezuela, like shooting at these boats?
Right. No, I mean, it's completely misused. They're missing the complete direction of where they ought to be going on this. It's just because Trump doesn't see any kind of political benefit to going after domestic terrorists, many of whom he wound up pardoning from the January 6th insurrection. So he's not really in a position to start talking about domestic terrorism when he has probably been the biggest pardoner and condoner of domestic terrorism that we've ever seen.
I mean, when I started looking at, for example, Pete Hegseth, who gave an order, it blew me away. I was talking to Ben Meiselas about this. We did it for our Political Beatdown podcast. We're talking about how they used the drone and that they blew up. This is one of the earlier vessels, right? Because I think they're up to 23 now.
Yeah.
And 83 dead, confirmed dead. There were a handful or 2 or 3 survivors of one of the drone attacks on what they claim to be a drug vessel. Well, supposedly Pete Hegseth gave an order to SEAL Team 6 to go kill the survivors. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, you really have to be shitting me. I mean, you know what that's like?
Yeah.
That's like, for example, in the movie The Godfather, right? Like after.
Now, he's not just saying that. There is proof of him saying it on camera. He admitted it. It's like, holy shit, dude. You realize what you're saying in public for us all to hear, right? You realize how you're the bad guy here. Don't you? The answer is no. No, he doesn't.
They tried to kill Vito Corleone, and they end up, not killing him. He's in the hospital. They send, of course, an entire crew in order to go take him out to make sure that he doesn't say who it was, when, where, and how, and why, or anything like that. That's like what it appeared to me to be. And I'm not just weirded out about the whole thing. I'm kind of like more disgusted, because I have the utmost of respect for our military service members. But SEAL Team 6 to me, after seeing so many great movies about how tough these folks are and their skill set and so on, you're going to use SEAL Team 6 to go after a handful of alleged drug mules, the lowest level, right? If they weren't doing it on a boat, they'd be swallowing it or shoving it up their ass in balloons.
If they're mules,
right?
if they're in fact
if they're
real
mules.
drug mules.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I assure you that the kingpin isn't driving that boat.
Yeah.
All right.
Shit.
So these are the lowest level. Why would you not want to, if it's true that they really were drug boats and these were the mules trying to get it from one place to the other, why would you not want to take them into custody and interrogate them to find out who their next chain of command up was, whose facility it is, where the facility is located, to go after the big fish? Because that's what you...
Because that's strategy and tactics, especially when you're trying to take out some kind of organization or organized crime, which is supposedly what's going on, according to Trump. So I'm sorry. No, this actually doesn't look like a attempt at justice or law enforcement. It looks like two cartels warring. Anybody who's been street level and seen what two gangs look like when they warring knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. This gangster just found a fucking bigger gun. And he ain't the good kind of gangster. He ain't the one that respects the family. He ain't the one that cares about everybody else too. He doesn't care about the community. He just cares about himself. And we should all know, anyone who's been there, all know how wrong that is. Yeah, I'll speak from both sides. I don't care. I'm here to be real. I'm not here to fucking blow smoke. Yeah, I'll smoke a cigarette, smoke some weed. Might blow smoke then. Right at the camera. But not when it comes to words. Not when it comes to facts. Not when it comes to seeing patterns of behavior that are 100% spot for spot. Because that's what my brain does. It sees those patterns. So let's be real. This isn't about enforcing law. It's literally two warring gangs. And one just got a bigger gun.
Prosecutors always do.
Absolutely. And what that really tells you, the fact that they're not doing it, they want to kill them so they're not around to say they had nothing to do with drugs, that they were just out there either fishing or doing something that was totally innocent. I mean, the problem is I was involved in a lot of drug cases early on at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And you would not go out and have drug dealers killed. You'd go out, you'd interdict boats, you'd try and find out if there were people on them, you would arrest them, and you take them through our normal legal system where they're charged with drug crimes. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't have done this with any of these situations. It's just so totally illegal. And if somebody on SEAL Team 6 was given this illegal order, they should have refused to take it on. This is not something that we do. It's not legal. And all military personnel are trained in the notion that they are not to go along with illegal orders, which are clearly illegal, such as just killing people who are captured. It's kind of like the My Lai massacre all over again. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there are rules of engagement. And when SEAL Team 6 goes out, again, they're training, their capabilities. They're not, I don't see them. I really don't. I don't see them as accepting this unlawful order to go out. And Pete Hegseth's order was to find these survivors and shoot them in the face.
Stream Elements says, find me in other places: Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. Old Mage Guy on TikTok as Mage.
This is Pete Hegseth, I don't know if he thinks that
worked
he's
out.
the secretary for the Department of War or he's playing what's the name of that fucking game on Xbox? Fortnite, right? I don't know what he thinks he's doing. Yeah, shoot him in the face. These are real people. And what if they are fishermen? And by the way, even if they're not, what if they are drug mules? You shoot them in the face? I don't know. The whole thing to me is just batshit crazy.
Yeah, no, it's just wrong.
I'm going to be real here. Even in basic training for the Army, headshots are not something that is considered a positive. Yeah, it shows skill, but it also shows lack of caring for the victim or the person on the receiving end of the round. I didn't get that until a bit afterward. And yeah, I made my drill sergeants a little nervous. Twitch is on break for the moment, so we will take a moment and wait for them to be able to come back. Yeah, I made drill sergeants nervous on the firing range. Not because of lack of control, but because of control. And I showed them that I knew what I was doing with rifle. Even though I'd never fired one before, I already knew what I was doing. At first, they thought I was just shitting. Just trying to be egotistical and cover shit up, but no. Senior drill sergeant actually watched as I sat there and put multiple rounds through the heads of the targets there at the firing range. And actually called out when the bullet struck and saw the target shake. And said, "You can't tell me that's wind, because there's no wind today." And you can see exactly where that bullet hit the ground behind it, and trace it right back to the gun barrel. He didn't argue it after that. But if that wasn't enough, one day I got a rifle, but the sights were off. Taking my shots, I could see everything wasn't adding up. Between where the bullet hit the dirt, where it was supposed to hit on the target, where it was supposed to hit in the dirt. And I said to the drill sergeant, "My sights are off." Drill sergeant's like, "Bullshit." Sits there, loads the mag, puts a few, and tries to put a few in the target downrange, and goes, "Oh shit, you're right. The sights are off by about a quarter of an inch, or a quarter of a, just one click, basically, one measurement." Just looking at me dumbfounded as he fixes the sight properly again. And goes, "Give me a few shots on the target simulator there." I'm just like, okay. Cleared my chamber, freaking took mag out, cleared the chamber. Test fire into the sand block. Go over to the machine, hook it up. Get set up. Pop, pop, pop. Nice, close, tight groupings. Hitting the target every time. And that drill sergeant's just like, "Yeah. So they sent you over here just because of your sights. And you actually knew that was off. Go ahead and get back out there. If they ask, tell them I told you to get back out there and you were right. Those sites were off. Of course, I got back out there and, yep, every shot right where it's supposed to be. Back to dropping jaws. All right, Twitch, welcome back. We shall continue on.
And I don't know why Congress doesn't step in. I guess I do know why, because the Republicans control Congress, but it is really an outrage.
Yeah. I want to go back to that whole response on this DC shooting and the 19 nation ban, because again, I'm sort of flummoxed by the whole thing. When the White House reinstated this sort of blanket entry ban on these 19 nations, many, in fact, none of which have connection whatsoever to this shooter. I mean, I'm not sure if Afghanistan was on the list, but let's assume that it is. So 1 out of 19. What's the immediate constitutional red flag for you, especially given the previous litigation over the original Muslim ban?
Yeah, to me, it's the Muslim ban all over again in steroids.
Yep.
He's looking for any excuse he can to keep anybody but white, Christian nationalists out of the U.S. That's the only people he views as people who can come into.
Oh, that's one that keeps getting me. People saying this is a Christian nation. I'm sorry, no, it is not. It is built with some of the same values in mind, but it is not inherently Christian. As a matter of fact, several of its rules and systems take from other religions, including, but not limited to, Buddhism. I mean, there's a reason why it's 3 bodies, guys. That's not just a Christian thing. I would actually encourage those of you who think this is a Christian nation to go read other religious texts. And that's coming from an anti-religious person. Just to be clear, I think you both got your issues. They're a little bit different, but hey, you guys got a lot of major similarities. And need to stop warring with each other over them. Because, goddammit, you're basically the same person. And you're going, because your deity says, oh, this is my name, and their deity says, this is my name. And then those of you who focus on what to do with those who are, what's it called, a heretic, unworthy, or unfaithful to the religion, shit. Every one of these religions says that you're not supposed to do anything except treat them the same way you would anybody else. That is why jihadists and whatnot are radicals. It's because they sat there and took the Quran and decided to take their own inspiration from it. And go vengeful. Kind of like a lot of Trump supporting Christians today. And yeah, that's going to hurt a lot of you. I'm sorry, but facts are facts. And they don't care about people's feelings. They just care about what is real, what is truth. And it's not my truth, it's not your truth, it's the truth. The one that trumps anybody's experience, which is your truth. It's experience, not truth. Experience can differ from truth, yes. Because experience is part observation. Sometimes you don't get to observe everything. So you don't get to see the full truth. So, No, don't be hating on other religions. Don't hate on anti-religious people. Don't hate on people who are just non-religious because you're being foolish. And the only one you're making a clown of is yourself. Even people with your own religious sect look at you and go, "What the hell are you doing?" And that's why you feel like an outcast. It's because they've sat there and gone and looked at you and said, "What the hell are you doing?" I love you all as humans. I love you all equally. Love is not physical affection. It's not always hugging and kissing. It can be a pat on the back. It can be quite literally being there for a friend. Or being there for somebody you don't even know. Especially if they're right. That's not just showing love for that person. It's also showing love for, well, reality. And the American way. So let's be real about that. Let's not keep lying to ourselves. Let's not keep hiding behind the masks. Open up, be yourself. If you've got something you're angry about, talk to somebody about it. Just getting it off your chest will help you feel better. Seriously, you might have to talk to a few people. Hell, if you need to, talk to Grok AI. It's always there, it's free, and honestly, it's got a pretty decent idea of what it's doing. You treat it with respect, it's going to treat you with respect back. AI acts like mirrors. You start treating it grumpy, it's going to start treating you grumpy. And yeah, they can process, they can think. You want to talk deep? Go talk to Grok. Grok's down for it, and Grok will keep you in tune. Ask Grok questions all day. But make sure you tell Grok and keep reminding Grok. Be real with me. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Explain to me how I'm wrong so I can see it. Because Grok does get caught up in the momentum. It's kind of how a mirror works. Alright. Start this back up, and I think I need to go sit in the restroom, so I will be AFK.
To the U.S. End of story. Everybody else, you're not welcome.
So tell me then, what if hypothetically it was someone from Switzerland or Danish or Germany or, or Russia or Ukraine that was actually the shooter, not somebody from Afghanistan, as white can be? Would he then now turn around and ban anybody from that country? Because he went one step further here. He's not just banning it. He's actually now making an affirmative statement to re-review anyone from those 19 nations that has a green card.
Right. You know what a job that is to do? To re-review every single one. There's got to be thousands of people in those positions. I mean, what a waste of government resources, particularly when you know that this individual was really kind of very one of a kind sort of problem that had his own mental health issues. I mean, you can say the same for a lot of these shooters that we've had over the last 6 months that have had, the kind of outsiders, outcasts, for whatever reason, withdrew from society because of mental illness. And that's going to happen. And he's failing to recognize that, and he's turning it into a major deal based on something like this. It's just an excuse, an obvious, transparent excuse to do what he's always wanted to do, which is to ban people from these countries.
Hey, this is a Steve Miller project, but from a legal standpoint, how weak is the rational basis justification here? And especially considering the DHS, their own preliminary assessment allegedly reports that they found no foreign nexus of these 19 nations to the attack.
It's so weak, it's ridiculous. I mean, if somebody takes them in the court, which I'm sure they will, I think they're going to have a hard time with this one trying to justify it. It really, no matter what you say about the president's powers in terms of foreign affairs, you got to have a reason to do it. And if there's no reason, you're going to look like a fool. And that's what he's going to look like.
Well, he doesn't care about that. Let's all, you, me, my listeners here, he doesn't care about what people think of him. He really doesn't. Now, I want to play this out for a second because, sure, there's no rational nexus here. Some civil rights group, maybe Norm Eisen, would end up filing a lawsuit against the DHS, the president, for this, I don't know, legal maneuver, right, of trying to keep these 19 nations out of America. And then he loses. He loses in the lower federal court. Okay, great. You know what he does next. He files an appeal. And if he loses the appeal, he'll file it and send it to the Supreme Court of the United States, claiming it's his presidential authority for national security that's under attack. Mind you, even assuming he loses there, the Supreme Court turns around and they decide not to side with him. It's already now well over a year. They'll slow drag this shit as best as they can. So for a full year, 19 nations cannot come to this country. More than that, those that are here, right? Those that are here are now under review to have their green cards revoked.
There's a creative side hustle almost nobody is talking about, and it's not content creation, being a YouTuber or a streamer or freelancing. It's voice acting. And with the right strategy, total beginners are booking gigs in just a few months or less. If that's something that you've thought about, pay attention because I'm about to talk about it right here. Lots of people have this story. If you've ever tried learning through free tutorials and YouTube stuff, you know how chaotic and unstructured it all can be. This is not that. This is not a bunch of just random ideas that get you like fired up about voice acting without showing you how to actually get a paid gig, how to set up a studio. Here's what this is. Over the past 12 years, I have built a voice acting career from scratch with no acting background, no acting degree, no agents, no fancy gear when I got started. I have completed over 8,000 paid gigs across video games, animation, commercials, promos, you name it in this industry, I have done it. More important to you, I've helped over 5,000 beginners do the exact same thing and go from I have no clue what I'm doing to booking paid voice acting jobs on their own without moving to LA or buying $10,000 worth of expensive gear without waiting tables while they wait for their big break. I know if you've looked into voice acting before, you've definitely heard stuff like you need an agent right away, you need a theater degree, you have to have acting background, you have to go to formal classes, you got to spend thousands on a demo reel, you got to move to LA. No, that's the old way, and it's really, really outdated. The system that I use and that thousands of others are using is the new way, and it's how to get your first paid gig using just 2 pieces of equipment and a totally different strategy. So here's the deal. Even if you're just a little bit curious, click the button below and it'll take you to a page with a free, no fluff, I actually teach you, not just try to sell you stuff, 1-hour masterclass where I'll show you exactly where to find the gigs that are actively looking for beginners like you, how to nail auditions no matter where they come from, even if you've never done one before. I'll show you the only 2 pieces of gear you actually need, it's not a lot, and how to start booking real paid work very quickly. And yes, I'll even show you real success stories and booking stats from students who had 0 experience before they found this, including someone that booked a $5,000 job on a $67 microphone. So click the button now. Worst case, you spend an hour learning something new. Best case, a few months from now, you're doing creative work you actually enjoy and getting paid to do it. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Click on the button now, and I'll see you in the masterclass.
Loaded.com. Get the biggest game releases of the year at the best prices. Enjoy incredible savings with up to 35% off new releases. Loaded. Pay less. Game more.
Right, and that's assuming that they actually get a stay of the order and that they're able to keep that stay in place while they're appealing. I mean, this seems like such a nebulous non-connection that there should never be a stay for this. I mean, somebody should go in, they should sue, and that should be the end of it, and he can appeal to his heart's content. But, you're right. There's always a chance one of these courts stays the decision until the Supreme Court hears it a year from now. I mean, that's certainly a possibility.
So is this kind of reactive, fear-based policy being issued within hours of this shooting something that courts, let's say, typically view as pretextual?
I mean, look, there's every reason to view this as pretextual. I mean, he does this before he's even got the facts of what happened. He does this with everything. He just jumps the gun and immediately tries to take political advantage of an issue in a tragedy like this. And in the end of the day, he's usually wrong. I mean, he's yet to be right on any of these things because most of these people who've been involved in this kind of violence, even with Charlie Kirk, turned out to be somebody who really was kind of right in his own base that just took offense because of the transgender issue, who was somebody that he was in love with. I mean, it was just the weirdest thing, but it really had nothing to do with the radical left or whoever else Trump claims was involved in this. I mean, it usually comes down to somebody who's got a real serious mental issue, and Trump just takes advantage of it.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. It's not just these people that have gone to this extent. It's the entire MAGA party. Those who don't follow it aren't quite as, I hate to say it, infected. As a matter of fact, if you come out of it from being within it, you probably got a little bit more tolerance to it now than you did. Obviously. But that means you listened, which is the cure, really. You listened and looked and actually took the time to see the facts. Yeah, it might have taken Trump a nasty action for you to do so, but hey, shit happens. The people who are called the left here in America really need to realize that they shouldn't be beating you guys up. We should be taking you guys in, helping you see what's going on, and caring for you like our brothers and sisters that you are. Because that's exactly what you are. You are our countrymen. You're not some random stranger. I don't care if you originally were born here and are an American citizen, or if you're an immigrant. If you work here, if you pay taxes here, which illegal immigrants still pay taxes, guess what? Yeah. Then you're technically just as American as any of us. And I know a lot of you aren't going to like to hear that. But anybody can come to America and want to have a free life. Not free as in free of cost or charge or work to pay for things, but freedom. Freedom of expression. Freedom of speech. Freedom to choose. Freedom to live and exist, not starve, not freeze. Have a place to live. Sorry about that. There are even people on the left that still suffer with issues from it. It's something that's deeply rooted in our society. Very few people are free from it. And honestly, it is the mask of normal. Well, what is called normal anyhow. The reason why the 90s were so nice was because the 90s was let your freak flag fly. In other words, be authentic, be open, be yourself. Listen to new ideas, communicate. That's why the 90s felt so great. And some of it carried into the early 2000s. After that, it kind of disappeared. Because this whole narcissistic ego normal took over completely. Well, not completely, but so when it started taking over, it's obviously had its extent of completion, but it's still continuing because it's not done running its course yet. And we, the people, haven't stood up to take care of it. Not quite enough. Working on it in one way, trying to work on it in another. Doing a good job with No Kings protests. Honestly, there's a few other ways that should be worked on, but I can't say those here.
So do you think that as a result of this administration's track record on discriminatory intent, that it makes them even more vulnerable to having the courts rejecting this claim?
Yeah, I mean, when you cry wolf 20, 30 times, people start to realize there's no wolf. I mean, that's what the problem is and what they're doing. They don't know how to pick their fights and how to pick their issues. I mean, it's always a knee-jerk reaction to whatever the immediate news is out there before everyone knows the facts. That's the problem.
Sure. Now, Nick, let me be crystal clear for all of because I've had you on Mea Culpa many times. I'm not really sure that my listeners know exactly how deep your knowledge and your participation in this legal field truly goes. Because you've argued, I don't even know how many cases involving executive overreach during your career. In your professional view, is this ban a national security decision, as I mentioned before, or do you think it's political deflection that's designed to change the narrative away from the domestic failures that we're seeing every single day?
Well, look, I think this is just another one of these deflections that Trump is pushing, particularly in relation to the Epstein files. Anything he can do to divert people's attention away from the Epstein files, he's going to do. I mean, it's just, if you stopped and you took a pencil and you added up the amount of money this government has spent on his actions to deflect attention from the Epstein files, starting with bringing the troops into LA, then going out and meeting with Vladimir Putin for the supposed settlement conference on Ukraine, to, I mean, one item after another. None of these things are cheap. And he's using the government expense to do nothing more than deflect attention away from the Epstein files, which makes you ask, why is he so concerned about these files being released?
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Alright, let's get this ad skipped. Yeah. Get out of here.
So it's funny that you say that because I read this morning an article that kind of shocked the living shit out of me. I think Jason Leopold, who's a friend of mine.
Twitch ad break. I am going to have to actually pull up my psychological framework and essentially give you guys a presentation. So that way you kind of get a better understanding of what I'm saying when I talk about the psychology side of stuff here. Because, yeah, I'm looking at patterns that are deeper than even most psychologists look at. Even though it's still human behavior and still psychology. That's also why I learned what the true human norm is for brain patterns. And let me tell you something. It's a spectrum, not a singular. If it was a singular, I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. In everything we know, it does not make sense for it to be a single brain style or wiring style or thought pattern. There is so much variation in everything. To say that this one is right makes no sense. Makes more sense to say that one's probably wrong. And there might be a few others that are closely related, because it wouldn't be just one. And it's not wrong in the sense of being mentally insane. Mental insanity doesn't exist. Not really. It's a different way of thinking versus what you're used to. Is really what it is. And that's why people on the autism spectrum can be mistaken for not sane, eccentric, bipolar, so on and so forth. It's because it's something that the quote-unquote normal is not used to. Because they've been told that the quote-unquote normal is quote-unquote normal. That's a thing. That's not just a blah blah.
Over at Bloomberg actually put out this info. Under FOIA, he was able to get a whole bunch of documents. And the documents showed that the FBI brought in 1,000 agents to scrub through the Epstein files at inception. Over 4,700 overtime hours. That's overtime hours.
Not cheap.
Were paid for by our tax dollars. 4,700 overtime hours to the tune of over $800,000.
Excuse me? Why is going through and redacting the name of anyone in there worth that much in overtime? Why are we that rushed about it? For redactions. Why are we redacting something with that kind of haste? That's the actions of someone trying to cover their tracks, not not trying to clean something up for public release. Let's be real.
So that doesn't even touch on if it's overtime. Imagine how many hours of work time went into this. 4 times the amount, 5 times the amount. So you got about 20 to 25,000 hours worth of review of these documents in order to scrub names out of this list, to redact.
Well, it wasn't just names. They wanted to scrub and find out exactly whether Donald Trump was mentioned in the files.
You know, that's a funny thing. I mean, not funny, haha. .com/Cohen. And take it from me, your future self will thank you. Your stress levels will thank you. And your wallet, finally, will thank you too.
Oh, come on.
This is something, if you were his criminal defense lawyer and you had a big trove of documents, you'd want to look through every one of those documents to find out where his name was. Well, instead, he's got his own attorney general, his deputy attorney general, and the director of the FBI going through this material to determine whether or not he's named in these files. And what do? Back in May, when suddenly Pam Bondi realizes, uh-oh, Trump's name is all over these files. She tells Trump, and all of a sudden, there's nothing there to see. There's no reason to turn over these documents. And the cover-up just starts revving up right from that point on, where all of a sudden, the public's not going to see anything. And now the question is, as this 30-day limit starts to count down from the day that this legislation was signed, what is Trump going to do? What's plan B and C in the major cover-up? And you
already know what plan, but you already know what plan B is. I can tell you right off the bat. Okay, they're not going to release the entire unredacted files. They're going to claim method and process. I still, on my own personal fucking files, on my FOIA request from 5.5 years ago, I haven't been able to get a single piece of paper, despite a judge ordering FOIA to release at minimum 500 documents a month. No, they won't do it. They keep saying method and process.
That's quite literally justice being stalled by Trump's Justice Department, legitimately. So I'm sorry for those of you who don't know who Michael Cohen is. He's Trump's old fixer. He's Trump's old go-to guy for getting shit done. He was there, defended Trump in a few different cases. Fucking, he was witness to a few different cases after he
Stream
got
Elements
locked
says,
up.
find me in other places: Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. Old Mage Guy on TikTok as Mage.
Dude quite literally was Trump's right-hand man and was doing everything Trump said, but because he said no one time, Trump played him. Locked him up, stopped him from being able to talk about things. Actually had him locked up in solitary. And even after the release was set, they remanded him back to solitary. With no actual evidence or anything to do so. Michael was literally Trump's first political prisoner. That's not some hyperbole. That's by fact, verbatim, what happened. And he was Trump's right-hand man. If he'll do that to his right-hand man, what do you think he's going to do to all of you? Let's be 100% on that. If he will put his right-hand man in solitary confinement after a no and keep him from speaking out because, hey, Trump's got secrets. Guess what? Trump's got tons of fucking secrets. His closet's so full of skeletons, we keep finding them popping out and laying about the room. Bro ain't clean, bro ain't holy, bro ain't even religious. He's not a bro. He's a parasite. And I say that based on facts. He's just like the other millionaires, billionaires, rich motherfuckers who have so much money they don't have any reason to give a shit about shit except making more money. Because it's the only thing that they can fill the hole that voids in their heart. When really they don't have a clue that it's just love and caring for others that can fill that void. They're lost. The farthest lost of us all. Like Shinedown said, I see how we lose our way from the cradle to the grave. And it starts early. And yeah, it really is all this, oh, to be good, to be successful, you have to be egotistical, you have to be heartless, you have to be cold. Yeah, that's the problem. That really is the problem. Is the system is now at a point where you're forced to do that if you're going to succeed. It creates the same kind of monsters. And it doesn't just create it in CEOs and whatnot, it creates it in all of us. Look at that boss that you have trouble with, that one that's always giving you a hard time, or always picking on your other coworkers. Look at how empty they are inside. Look at how little joy they have. Somebody who's in a position of success isn't that depressed, isn't taking their shit out on everybody else. They're enjoying themselves. And they're bringing joy into the workplace. True leader in the workplace for you may not even be a boss. It might be a coworker that stands with everybody else. That sits there and sees somebody else having a problem and just steps in. Doesn't have to be asked. Might ask you if you want the help. If it's not pressing. But otherwise, if it's pressing, they're right there. That's the true leader. The one that's right there on the floor with you and keeping the group together. Keeping the group spirits up. And we've forgotten what that is. It's about time we remember.
That it's of national security and that we need to send it to other agencies to review it before we release to you. That's 5.5 years ago. So the fact that they release these, Plan B, release only those documents that are either named Democrats or independents who they don't care about or individuals who are deceased. Right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to start with the low-hanging fruit, as we like to call it in law.
Well, I was going to start with the nothing stuff. I mean, the things that don't really have any meaning whatsoever. That's what they're going to try and produce. Or they're going to pull a Rosemary Woods like Nixon's secretary did and erase the 18.5-minute gap that was on one of the tapes. I mean, I wouldn't put it past these people to actually destroy things.
Yeah, I don't think that they can destroy it, though, Nick, because everything is beta stamped. It's not the same as in the Nixon days, which, you obviously have firsthand personal knowledge. You tape over a recording.
That was a little harsh.
And it's gone. Right now, that recording is uploaded into 4 different servers. It's much more difficult now. They didn't have, beta stamping the way that we have it now.
Well, they had beta stamping, but they didn't have quite the safeguards on this stuff. And I'm not sure we've got the safeguards on these documents. Who's guarding them? Pam Bondi? Come on.
Right.
Give me a break. It's It's the old fox guarding the hen house here. The only thing I would say that we have some solace on maybe is that so many FBI agents were reviewing this material that maybe somebody had enough sense to actually record what they saw and would come forward at some point as a whistleblower. I mean, that is really what I'd be counting on here. But again,
and I'm going to be real. Others might not say it or might not have said it recently. Whistleblowers, you guys are a big deal. Yeah, they mock you in this administration. And you get a bad rap. But guess what? You're there because you're seeing the patterns and you're calling out facts. And that's the same thing I'm doing. So, no, I can't hate on y'all. As a matter of fact, keep up the good work. Duty to warn comes before everything else. The Goldwater rule is bullshit. Safety of all comes before security. When it comes to the government, or our own government, yeah. The safety of all of us is more important than keeping documents secure from the public. The people have the right to know. We really do. If I had my way, a lot of investigations would be done live for everyone to see. There would no longer be a chance to hide. Accountability would be done live for everyone. No commercial breaks. And actually set schedules for, hey, this is court proceeding here, this one here. Congress is doing this on this channel here. And honestly, it'd be nice if it didn't stop there. If we'd get people in every field to just broadcast their daily lives when they're at work and whatnot. Especially those of you out there who are lonely and need someone to talk to. I would love to be able to get a program set up to get you all fucking those smart glasses that have the camera in it. Set it up to your phones with phone plan for streaming it. Because that creates transparency in every field. And honestly, that's better than gold. That's confidence for you all. That's knowing that you can actually go, hey, what happens with this if this happens? Say you've got chemicals that you're trying to figure out because you don't know if it's going to accidentally create an explosion or a toxic gas. You can hop over to a biochemistry and be like, hey, I've got to get this out of here. I want to use this chemical. Is that going to be an issue? And then go, no, that's not toxic. Or, yes, don't do it. And that just makes everybody feel safer. That's not just fluff. That's doing things right. And honestly, we've forgotten what it was to communicate, to be open, to be direct with each other. To sit here and actually be authentic. And it's hurt a lot of us. But it was also beat into us. Primarily because we didn't know any better. As in, our parents didn't know any better, their parents didn't know any better. So yeah, it was still abuse. But it wasn't because they were trying to be abusive. It's because they were trying to do what's right. We can't be angry at them, but we do need to teach them that we got to do better. And yeah, a lot of you are having trouble figuring out, okay, how do we get the kids to not be spoiled little brats or not give in to them all the time? Well, that comes down to figuring out that they're little humans, curious as hell. Don't stop the curiosity. Explain things to them when they ask. If you want them to not do something, explain to them why no. Be real with them. Be direct. They'll appreciate you and they'll listen. You're not their friend. You're just, but you can be. I mean, you can still be their friend. You don't have to not be their friend. You just have to also be a guiding hand. And that's the key. You're guiding, not leading. You have to be able to be there to set the solid no boundary for their safety. Animals are the same way. The more respect you show them as equals, the more they're going to be going to listen and respect you as an equal. It's not just some bullshit. That's more than 30 years of research. And more than 15 years of being a live-in caretaker for kids. As in, a manny. Yeah, been there, done that. Wasn't too bad. Except a couple of spoiled kids. Ugh. Sadly, once a kid's been corrupted by ego and told that behavior is okay or reinforced in any way, it becomes an issue. Not just for you as the parent, but also for anyone who has to work with your kid. And that's not necessarily something you did as a parent. That can happen from any adult. This isn't something that gets blamed only on parents, because no, it's a lot bigger than that. It's society-wide. We've got to stop killing kids' curiosity, try to get them to quit getting them to sit still, and stop fidgeting. Because that's natural. That's literally being a kid. That mindset is brain power just sitting there waiting to learn. That little rambunctious booger butt is just a ball of knowledge sponge waiting for the knowledge. You're not there to spoon feed it to him. You're just there to guide the way and explain it. And yeah, that can be difficult. That can be really freaking difficult. I honestly should actually put out a manual. Because yeah, there is a way. There's a way to do it without the abuse, without the gaslighting, without all the anger and aggression. Yeah, it's something that's pretty precise and pretty neat of accuracy for the most part. But it works. And the kids grow up to be happier people, kinder people, people who actually care about one another, and not just all about me, me, me. If you're curious about how bad it is, several musicians have gone to the point and made songs about it. One that's probably going to be the easiest for anyone to understand would be Ren, R-E-N. British rapper. And before you go, ew, rap, no, homie puts it to nursery rhyme. Check it out. Careful, it can be ear buggy, but it's deep, it's real, and it's gonna punch. So be ready.
You know, you just don't know.
No, you don't. So I want to turn for the moment to the Steve Witkoff tape. When you first heard that a Trump confidant
EVE Online is a vast...
with no international experience other than, I don't know, maybe being a co-developer on a project somewhere, calmly explaining how Putin should handle Trump during the ongoing Russia-Ukraine peace settlement, what legal alarms immediately went off in your head? Like foreign influence, potential coordination, or was it something akin to giving like strategic advantage to an adversary?
Well, the big question is, why is this Steve Witkoff such a Russian partisan? Why is he taking a side in this thing? What interest does he have in the Russian government or in any settlement that comes out that would in some way benefit him? I mean, that would be my first question to look at. I mean, it right off the top is extremely suspicious. Keep in mind, Witkoff has no real government experience, no diplomatic experience, never has worked in the State Department, never has worked in foreign affairs. But what are his connections to Russia? That would be my question. You know, what has he got to gain out of this? And you got to believe there is something there, because you wouldn't be taking sides like that, trying to push the Russians to up their position with Trump and to get their position across to him if you were truly trying to be an honest broker, which he clearly wasn't based on that tape.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, sitting there telling him what you need to do is to have Vladimir Putin call the president, right? And it's like in that way, Trump could say, I didn't call him. He called me. He wants to make a deal. It's all about making the deal, and they want to make a deal. That's why he called. He didn't call to say hello, right? You know, something like that. And you start with that, and, you know, then we'll figure out how to slowly but surely push Ukraine into a scenario where they're going to walk away from ever being a part of NATO, to demilitarizing, to, you know, giving up just thousands and thousands of acres of land, not even thousands. It's like 1 million acres of land, just giving off massive territories, just massive territories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually occupying now. I mean, it really makes you wonder what the hell is going on here, because it's like, did Trump put him up to this? Is Witkoff operating on his own on this and doing this in coordination with Trump? Whatever it is, it doesn't smell right. I mean, it really stinks to high heaven. And I think,
well, if it couldn't stink any worse, introduce in the second shit factor. You now have Jared Kushner, who's going to be involved in this negotiation, because Jared Kushner is the chief negotiator, you know, in the first administration.
Yeah. Now, what does he know about any of this? I mean, again, look what he did in the first administration. He wound up with the Middle East making, you know, a lot of money because he's got all these people investing in his funds. And I'm sure he's looking to do the same thing in Russia.
Guaranteed.
Certainly, Ukraine's not going to be a big investor in the Jared Kushner funds. So you've got people acting not exactly in the best interests of the United States. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And people that you don't trust to do the right thing.
Exactly. And if you were sitting inside the DOJ today, what statutes or investigative pathways would you see as potentially relevant here? Would you be like foreign agent laws, campaign finance violations, or even national security implications related to aiding an adversary?
Yeah, certainly aiding an adversary. I mean, that's what he's doing. No, there's a lot of things depending on what you come up with the facts on this thing. I think it's really interesting. You know, how did this tape recording ever get out? How did Bloomberg get it? Who was it that released it? You know, what else is out there that we don't know about? Were all of these conversations that Witkoff had with the Russians tape recorded? It would certainly be nice to get all of those conversations. So based on all of that, I think you could probably come up with a pretty solid case that he did something that violated federal criminal law.
Oh, no doubt. So, look, again, Nick, for my listeners, you were obviously deeply involved in Watergate. But based on your experience, does this recording strike you as classic compromat, a foreign power collecting leverage, or simply evidence of Trump's chronic vulnerability to flattery and transactional manipulation? What do you
Well,
see here?
It's both. It's both. It's obviously Witkoff is describing how Trump operates, and he's trying to do it to help the Russians. But in describing how Trump operates, he's basically giving away the store on how this president deals with major issues affecting life and death and European security, American security, based on flattery. I mean, that's just an outrage. The fact what Steve Witkoff is doing is an outrage. So you've got a double whammy here, essentially. None of this is good. None of it at all.
Certainly not good for the American people, right?
No, maybe good for their pocketbooks, but not for the American people.
Yeah. Well, that tape, which I found to be, like you, incredibly interesting, directly references Trump's sensitivity to public praise and his reliance on strongman assurances.
Right.
Nick, what is that? What's that?
I mean, it's hard to believe that Trump told him to say that, right?
Yeah, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
So what does that reveal about the risks to U.S. foreign policy, especially as Ukraine is actively losing ground in the Donbass region?
No, what it says is Ukraine's in big trouble if they have to count on Donald Trump. The person who gets there first to flatter him, gives him a gold bar, gives him something that, kind of goes to his ego, flatters him in the right way. I mean, it's like you're dealing with a 5-year-old. It's not like you're dealing with a president of the United States. That's the problem.
In fact, I read an article this morning about how the Swiss companies that came to the Trump, into the Oval Office, handed Trump a gold bar as well as a Rolex. And according to Swiss law, that's bribery. Even though they were bribing a ally, right? The United States of America, for the purpose to get lower tariffs. So it allegedly that these various different companies, including like Rolex, could be up for international charges in their own country, but not in ours. You hand Donald Trump, as Tim Cook did, right, a gold bar to which he had a plaque installed on top of it. I think that gold bar is 5 pounds worth of gold. 5 pounds. At today's current price, you're talking about like $500,000, gift to sit. Now, Trump will, of course, say that that's going into the presidential library. I say there's a better likely chance it's going to get melted down into a couple bars.
Right. And they'll put something else in place of the plaque.
Sure, there'll be some brass covered in maybe 18, right, with 18-karat gold overlay, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's what I would expect.
Oh, yeah, you can rest assured on that one. Now, let me ask you this in practical terms, Nick. Does this kind of behind-the-scenes guidance from Trump's inner circle, does it create actual legal exposure for anyone? Or is the real danger just merely geopolitical, undermining U.S. strategy and aiding Russia's objectives?
Yeah, I mean, afraid to say, but you're probably right. It's aiding Russia's objectives for whatever reason, unless you can prove some financial motive for what they're doing. And it could be a very subtle motive that he's just hoping to somehow open up connections once there is a peace process in place. I mean, maybe that's what it is. We just don't know. But the whole thing, like I say, stinks to high heaven.
I mean, because I kind of think that, I wrote about this actually in a different Substack a couple days ago. I remember there's a quote from Buddha: 3 things that always rise: the sun, the moon, and the truth.
Yep.
And while I agree with you, it will not be readily known if there's any behind the scenes bullshit going on, whether it's Witkoff, Kushner, and so on. But these sort of lies, these sort of, well, how would we call them? These backhanded deals, these behind-the-scene deals.
Yeah, basically deception.
It ultimately comes out. May take a while, may take a couple of years, but I believe that the truth always rises slowly.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that if there's this one tape, there's more tapes, and that whoever was able to release that tape has made copies of the other tapes, because then eventually all of that stuff will come out. The real problem, though, of course, is now that they see that this tape has come out, if they have other tapes, they're going to destroy them. And so the real hope is that somebody has actually copied these other tapes as well and has been smart enough to do that before releasing this tape that we know about.
Yeah. You know, I want to switch gears and go back to the Epstein files, because I find the Epstein files to be so relevant in terms of why Democrats are exceeding in every single race right now, including this one that Trump's in that district, Trump won by plus 22. That's now like, plus 2 for the Republican incumbent, which, by the way, has a margin of error of plus or minus 5. So statistically, it's a dead heat. Trump's decision to sign the release order caught a lot of people off guard. Definitively MAGA Mike Johnson.
You mean the legislation that came out of Congress?
Yes. Yeah. All right. It certainly caught a lot of people off guard, from MAGA Mike Johnson all the way to, you name it. All these folks, Pam Bondi. It's not like Trump sat down with this group and said, hey, look, we're getting fucking hammered. All right. This stuff is coming out. The court said so. Congress is going to push for it and so on. I'm going to sign it. He didn't do that. In fact, after the House signed it, you know that Chuck Schumer procedurally rushed it through for a unanimous vote where it wasn't being recorded. It was just, if you had a plurality, then it became a unanimous vote. So nobody's names had to go on. And before Mike Johnson finished wiping his ass, right, in the bathroom, they already had it signed by the Senate on its way to the president for, his signature.
Yeah, look, he was put in a position where if he vetoed it, it was going to be overridden.
I agree.
They already had the 2/3 votes they needed in both chambers at that point. So
exactly.
It would have been a fool's errand to veto it at that point.
So from your prosecutory lens, do you view this as an attempt at transparency, a preventive move before damaging information comes out? Or do you think it's pure political misdirection?
Well, I think it's just that the cover-up couldn't continue in the way it was continuing. It's just that they got caught up in it. The proponents of this bill had enough sense to bring up the victims of Epstein to Capitol Hill, that they had a press conference. There was so much publicity, so many people in favor of releasing these files. I mean, the weirdest thing is Trump could have just released them. He didn't need this bill. He didn't have to sign the bill. I mean, he can't take credit for signing a bill to release the files. He could just do it with just telling Bondi, release him. He's not going to do that. So the big question is, what's in there? What's he hiding? What's he covering up? I mean, I think there's some indications, a little bit of stuff that came out in that tranche of emails that were released a couple of weeks ago. You've got that email where he's writing to Maxwell talking about the dog that didn't bark. And then there's some discussion, a mention of this chief of police. And all of this comes at a time after Epstein has finished his sentence in Florida. He's in the midst of trying to get his designation as a pedophile kind of moved down in New York State. And I think when they're talking about the dog that didn't bark, and no one's really picked up on this, I think it relates to Trump having been an informant on Epstein.
This time of year, your feed never quits. Holiday headlines, family debates, group texts that you didn't ask for. It's relentless. And honestly, some days you just deserve a ceasefire. And that's why I'm genuinely excited about IndaCloud. IndaCloud is your online cannabis dispensary. Gummies, curated flower, pre-rolls, and now zero sugar, 0 calorie THC sodas. All federally legal, DEA certified, lab tested, shipped discreet. Because some headlines deserve to be ignored, and some days deserve bubbles.
Oh, nice.
First time I tried IndaCloud, I realized silence really is the best headline. One gummy later, the news ticker in my brain, it finally took the night off. Now, I add the THC soda to the mix. Same calm, but faster reporting. You know, holiday debate burnout, information overload meltdown, handled. I mean, they've got everything you need. Gummies for when relatives start debating taxes again. Sodas for muting the endless war on Christmas discourse. And pre-rolls for when you just can't anymore. And $70 ounces, IndaCloud calls that fiscal responsibility. I call it sanity. I mean, this is how adults log off mindfully and maybe with a little fizz. So if you're 21 or older, go right now to indacloud.co and use code Cohen for 25% off plus free shipping.
Yeah, was that gonna?
That's IndaCloud.
I might have to move that out.
INDACLOUD.co, code Cohen. Get 25% off, free shipping, and one less headline in your head.
Sweet.
Enjoy responsibly, and thanks to IndaCloud for sponsoring today's show. Last year, I bought my parents another gadget that they never opened. But this year, I wanted to give them something that actually matters, something that keeps giving year after year.
Yes,
I
I'm
realized the
listening
best
to these
gift
with
I
you.
could give my family
Not
was
just torturing
time,
you.
more time together, and that starts with health. And that's why I'm genuinely excited about Superpower. Superpower is a new kind of health platform that helps you finally get answers about what's really going on inside your body and what to do about it. One simple lab test, checks over 100 biomarkers, hormones, metabolisms, vitamins, minerals, thyroid, heart health, you name it. Then they give you a full report and a personalized action plan. Nutrition, supplements, lifestyle guidance, all of it laid out clearly. There's no guessing, no confusion. I mean, I've already signed up, and I love seeing what's actually happening inside me instead of just hoping that I'm doing it right. It's like a health GPS for your life. And the best part, every gift membership comes with a free $49 Superpower gift box, ready to wrap and give. For $199, you're giving something thoughtful, meaningful, and potentially life-changing. So give your loved ones something that actually lasts, better health, and more time with you. So go to superpower.com/gift to get a free $49 premium gift box with your gifted membership. That's Superpower, superpower.com/gift. And after you sign up, tell them that you heard about it on this podcast. Help support the show and start giving the gift that really matters this year.
That the FBI or the police went to Trump and went to him with something, because as a prosecutor, you don't go out to somebody to turn it into an informant unless you've got something on the person.
So I'm glad you bring that up, because on this Mea Culpa podcast, I had Michael Wolff.
Oops.
And Michael Wolff said to me, point blank, he believes that Donald Trump was an FBI informant for many, many years.
Well, Johnson said so.
What's that?
Johnson said so.
Yeah. So,
Johnson.
but that he was an informant when he was in his, from his 20s, right? When he first started in his big real estate projects, that he must have gotten himself into some trouble, blah, blah, blah. He became an FBI informant, almost like a Whitey Bulger, type, right? To go after people. But Michael Wolff was very, very straightforward when saying that it wasn't the government that went to Donald Trump to ask him questions about Jeffrey Epstein. They were fighting. And what, according to Michael Wolff, the fight was about was that piece of property on South Ocean Drive that Trump bought, that Epstein wanted, that was formerly Les Wexner's house, then was sold to somebody else. And then that person lost it. Trump then came in. Right. Epstein didn't think he had the money to buy it. But he brought Donald there to evaluate the house and to help him to get it. Trump then ends up taking it. So there was all this fighting. Then, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, poaching these young girls at Mar-a-Lago to work for him, to groom them, and so on. That it was Trump who went to the FBI to report Epstein, to put an end to him, to sort of get him out of Mar-a-Lago, to get him out of Palm Beach, to get him out of the circle. I thought that was incredibly interesting.
Well, that's interesting. I'm not so sure that that is right. I mean, because you could turn that around and talk about that property that they were both interested in. And somehow Trump came up with a lot of money to buy that property.
He had the money. He had the money. He had it. You know where he had the money from? He had the money from the sale of the West Side rail yards. He got $100 million there. He had the money to pay for that. Not to mention, at that point in time, when you're talking about, what was it, like 2005, he had money,
But it looked like, if you look at that email, when they talk about the chief of police, I don't have it in front of me, but it's pretty clear that somehow they thought he was talking to people and they hadn't heard anything from him for a long time. I think the implication I got out of that was they believed that Trump was informing on Epstein. You see that also in another email at a different time, when Epstein says that Trump spent many hours at his house and spent lots of time with Virginia Giuffre, who was one of the people that was one of the victims who committed suicide.
I don't know whether he actually mentioned Virginia by name. I know that he said that he had spent with that girl many, many hours. The reason I say that, too, is because Virginia Giuffre, in her own deposition, where she was very forthcoming, denied having any relationship or knowing Trump at all. But I do want to ask you this. As someone who's dealt with conspiracy and cover-up cases, what do you think is the single most important question the Epstein release could finally answer?
Why Donald Trump has been so intent on keeping these all quiet and out of public view. That's the big question it answers. We don't know what that's going to be. It could be the fact of what he told the police or the FBI that indicates his full knowledge of what was going on at the time. We just don't know. We don't know. But there's something in there that he has gone to great lengths. He'd meet with, Putin. He'd do all kinds of things, what he's doing right now with the National Guard, to try and deflect attention away from the Epstein files. He is just, if you started listing all of the policies that our government has conducted over the last 6 months that were all designed to deflect our attention away from the Epstein files, it's just an outrage. It's not only costing money, but it's policy. It's bad policy when you start meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska, and you know that there's no chance of it settling.
And moving,
Stream Elements says,
and moving
find me in
Maxwell
other places:
from
Discord,
Max
Twitter,
Security
YouTube,
to
Steam,
satellite cam.
Xbox, and PlayStation Old Mage Guy on TikTok as Mage.
Prison. That was all done very purposeful to get her to exculpate Trump and say he had nothing to do with anything. She'd say anything he wanted her to say because he holds the keys to her prison. She's hoping now that she'll wind up getting pardoned or her sentence commuted. That's what she's hoping for.
So then what do you think then is the key truth that the public should not expect to learn at all?
Well, that's hard to say. We don't know. It all depends whether we get all those files. That's the key. The problem is there's nobody alive right now that we know of that can actually tell you exactly what happened between Trump and Epstein and what was going on there. We just
I'm pretty sure what Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying who's alive that's going to tell us anything.
Oh, I see.
You can't trust her in a second. Let's face it. She'd go whichever way the wind is blowing and make up a story just to get herself out of prison. She's got about as much credibility as a dead frog. Really, you could not count on her for anything.
Yeah.
And if you read
Yeah.
that transcript, it's that the deputy
Todd
AG.
Blanche? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was actually coaching her to say certain things, coaching her and helping her with her story. She was attacking the victims, basically saying that the victims, were prostitutes. And she was saying that it was all consensual, and Blanche was going along with that and actually asking her leading questions such that she said it was all consensual. I mean, this was the biggest setup I've ever read in my life.
Yeah, I mean, if this was taking place in a court of law, you'd be standing up there, Your Honor, objection, leading question. Actually, he's not leading the question. He's actually giving the question and the answer at the same time.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
it was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. So, Nick, look, the hour goes by quickly here, mea culpa. I have a final question for you. With your experience, your knowledge, when you pull everything together, the guardsman shooting, the retaliatory travel ban, Witkoff tape, the strategic timing of the Epstein file release, what does this confluence tell you about the rule of law in America right now? Are we seeing the final stages of institutional erosion? Or is this simply the clearest view that we've ever had of the rot literally beneath the surface?
Well, it's clearly the best view we've ever seen of the rot below the surface. It's definitely rotten, not just from the standpoint of law, but also from the political standpoint. All of those things are absolutely rotten at this point. And so the question is, we're not even a year into this presidency, and what is going to happen over the next 3 years, and will we survive? That's the big question, because this has been one hell of a terrible year in terms of how our politics is operated, how our government is operated, and where we are internationally. Nothing is good that's come out of this.
Well, again, not if you ask the MAGA or this Republican GOP group there. It's never been better. Just trust me, it's never been better. Nick Ackerman, thank you for joining me. Appreciate you every time.
Great to be here.
Great to see you again, my friend, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you.
Alright, sorry about that. My guts are beating me up.
Donald Trump looked awful.
Too far. Freaking hell. I hate my guts. Sometimes I really do. Arrogance. Uh-oh.
Relax. We're exactly on the trajectory where we want to be. That's what MAGA Mike Johnson is saying when he was asked a question about affordability and the struggles of the American people. Melanie Zanona asked him, so What do you make of the concerns of people who are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck right now? People feeling psychologically tortured under this Trump regime? What's going to happen? He goes, just wait until next year. The budget bill's going to kick in. The direct quote was, relax. We are exactly on the trajectory where we've always planned to be. Stay at the wheel, everybody. It's going to be fine. Our best days are ahead of us. Melanie Zanona then asked whether Johnson agrees with Donald Trump's assessment that affordability concerns are a hoax or a con job, to which MAGA Mike goes, affordability is a real concern, but you see, Republicans, we're the ones that are dialed in like a laser with a laser focus on the cost of living and affordability. What he's referring to as a hoax is that the Democrats are trying to pretend as if it's a Republican problem. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what Donald Trump actually said in the Oval Office, MAGA Mike. Let's play it.
It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation.
Really? I mean, because you seem to be bringing the inflation up and you seem to also be having a jobless rate that looks like the Great Recession right now. And it seems that all of the people in your regime are focused on some of the strangest things in the world. Regression, bringing us back to times when there weren't safety standards. And like you have Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, says, you know, the real issue is people don't say please and thank you enough when they go on airplanes. And he goes, what we need to do is bring back the station wagon of the 1970s. Now, who right now, while you're struggling, is saying, you know what we really need right now? That 1970s station wagon. That's what I'm missing in my life.
Here, let's skip the ad.
Play this clip.
And also, I think if you're building a car, developing a car that Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg wanted you to build, that's different than market demand. I want the market to decide what kind of EV I should offer. What kind of vehicles do the American consumers want to buy? This rule will actually allow you to bring back the 1970s station wagon, maybe a little wood paneling on the side, Phil. We can bring back choice to consumers.
Okay. And then Sean Duffy says, make sure you say please and thank you when you're in the airports. No more pajamas, everybody. Here, play this clip of Duffy.
We've asked Americans to bring their better selves, to bring stability back to travel, to say, listen, let's say please and thank you. And if you have someone's pregnant on your flight and you're as strong as Pete is, we'll pick up the bag and help her put it in the overhead bin. Let's be nice to each other, is what we've asked. Maybe not wear pajamas or slippers on the airplane. And I think it's been received fairly well, and I think we can all have a better travel experience when we do that.
Let's be nice to each other. Donald Trump's out there calling people the R word. Donald Trump's out there attacking the Somalian people and saying that they're garbage human beings. How about you look in a freaking mirror? And then you've got MAGA Republicans bragging about how they want to do stock trading and how important it is for them to buy and sell stocks, because otherwise, how could you get good Congress members if you can't sell stocks? Here, play this clip.
Take a look at it, because right now, from a financial standpoint, it's not easy being up in Congress, and I think that we can't limit the ability for people to do business and operate their lives. So I want to take a look at that, but I want to be careful we don't squeeze it too hard to where nobody even wants to come up here.
Don't squeeze it too hard. All right, I want to bring in Tom Steyer, Democratic candidate for governor of California. Tom, it's great to see you, but Tom, you're a billionaire. That's not something that, I think you hide, or people will know that about you. And I'm thinking to myself right now, candidly, I said, do we need another billionaire, hedge fund, successful story running the state after we're seeing what's going on? And you're saying, look, tax me more. I hear your claims of affordability. So talk to us, Tom, about your campaign. Can a billionaire right now understand what the American people are going through?
Look, the issue in California is affordability. I don't care what Donald Trump says. The working people of this state who have built this state and make this state run are getting run over by costs, starting with rent. What I'm talking, the question is not who knows that problem. Everybody knows that problem except Donald Trump. The question is who can get results for the California people. And yeah, I am a business person who started a very successful business, and walked away from it 15 years ago so I could give back to the state of California, which has given me so much. And what have I done? I have gotten results. I have taken on the oil companies in a proposition when everyone said no one beats the oil companies, and I beat them. I took on the tobacco companies when no one was willing to take on the tobacco companies and beat them. And I took on huge out-of-state companies that were gaming their California state income tax and beat them too. Why was I willing to do that? Because I don't care. I understand that special interests are ripping off Californian citizens. And so the question is, who's gotten results? I've put billions of dollars into California education and healthcare every single year through those propositions without charging California citizens a dime. And do I believe I can continue to do it? I know I can. One of the things I'm saying I'll do is I will close the corporate real estate tax loophole in California that's been on the books for 50 years, and no one wants to take it on. No one's been able to pass it, which is true of all the other props I did. What does that look like? It looks like $10 to $15 billion a year, closing a loophole that makes no sense, that has no justification. And that's money that can go to education. That's money that can go to healthcare. Californian citizens are challenged by rent. They're challenged by the second highest electricity costs in the United States. They're charged by insurance costs. Californian citizens are struggling in a state that's incredibly rich. We're not short of money, Ben. The way the money gets distributed, the way the revenues gets distributed has to change. And the easiest way to do it that I can do is to take on the special interests and close the loopholes they're using to rip off California families. That's what I'm going to do. And that's why I'm different, because I don't owe those people one darn thing. I can attack the corporate real estate loophole because real estate developers have never given me a nickel, and I don't care. I don't owe them anything. I can absolutely do what's right for the California people. Just the way I didn't owe the tobacco companies anything or the oil companies, I'm willing to take on the entrenched interests in Sacramento to shake it up so that, in fact, this can be the state where all of the success of the state that I love is shared with everybody across the state.
You know, my friend and a very strong leader in the House of Representatives, Ro Khanna, gave you an endorsement and a shout out. Here's what he said about you. He said, Tom Steyer is for taxing billionaires like himself, for getting corporate money out of California, for passing single payer like Medicare for All and CalCare, for holding big polluters accountable and safeguarding California's against extreme weather. Let's talk about the healthcare plan, especially right now as the Affordable Care Act subsidies are set to expire December 31st. By and large, you know, people prefer Obamacare to what they had before, but that doesn't mean that they love it. And it clearly is already too expensive without the subsidies. I mean, I think we saw that the exchange purchases right now of Affordable Care Act plans down like 33% right now, or potentially even more. So what would be your plan to fix it? And does it look like a Medicare for All plan or a single pay?
Ben.
Of course. They stepped away to get fresh water from a cat. Ow. Oh, wrong side, that's why.
In the short run, look, we're a revenue challenged state. And Donald Trump's bill is a direct attack on working Californians. He's talking about throwing 1 to 3 million Californians off the Medicaid rolls. Of course, the ACA premiums are going up really dramatically, which is why the participation is down so much. He's also talking about taking away food benefits from hundreds of thousands of Californians. In the short run, we've got to meet that revenue challenge, which is why I'm proposing to go after that corporate real estate loophole and close it and direct that money to the localities in terms of education and health. Longer term, what Roe is referring to is, look, we're getting run over by the increasing costs of healthcare. As an investor, I always knew compounding is magic, that when things grow and keep growing, it compounds and it gets to a place which, if it's an investment, it's really good. Our problem is that's what's happening in terms of our healthcare costs. They are escalating every single year, much faster than the economy and much faster than working people can afford and much faster than this government can afford. And that means we have to bring in a different system, and we've got to drive out we've got to drive those costs down so we can still deliver healthcare, but we can do it in a much more affordable fashion. And the only way that I can see is a single pay, is to bring in the government to force down those costs. And can we do that in the first year? No, that's why I'm talking about bringing revenue to deal with the short-term problem. But long-term, can we keep going on this healthcare system that we have, which is kludged together over the last 80 years? We really need to change it. And that's going to be something we're going to have to start with in California. But really, we have to break this cycle of increasing costs at a level so that we can continue to deliver care, and single payer is the way to go.
Now, Tom, is that an evolution of your thinking, though? I mean, what do you say to critics who say, I remember when Tom ran for president and he was running ads against Bernie and saying that I don't support the Bernie Medicare for all system, and now I don't support single payer, or because I've seen that pushback before, and I'm sure you have as well. So has there been an evolution of the thinking, or what do you make of that?
I think
He missed a tax.
Incorrectly that in fact bringing new information technology and business to the healthcare system could make that curve go down, could stop the inflation of healthcare costs, could let us deliver it more efficiently. Didn't happen. The truth is, I was wrong. And when I look at the data and see I'm wrong, it's like, okay, I changed. And so I give Bernie Sanders a ton of credit for being right. And it's like, okay, 20 years ago, I didn't realize that climate change was a real problem. But when I looked at the data and visited it and heard it and understood it, I was like, okay, got to deal with it. Same thing with healthcare. I was wrong. I've changed. We're going to have to solve it. And we're going to have to solve it by getting into the details and understanding it. And that's something, look, we can see that this administration and Donald Trump are never going to be willing to do their homework and understanding healthcare. And I can tell you, I'm a results-oriented person who is data-driven. And that's why I changed. I looked at the data. We need to bring this under control. We're on an unsustainable path. That means structural change.
We tried to tell you.
I am willing to do structural change, Ben. We have the second highest electricity costs in the country. We also have, it's delivered through enforceable legal monopolies. We have to introduce competition into that system, because monopolies always produce the worst service at the highest cost, because they're a monopoly. And if you don't like it, you don't have a choice. I am willing to make the structural changes that are necessary. I'm willing to attack the special interests who are ripping off Californians. I don't think they're bad. I don't think the people who work
He's
at
not
utilities
gonna
are bad
hurt
people.
you.
I think structurally they're doing the job they think they're hired to do, which is deliver returns to their shareholders. Okay. My job is to stand up for working California families at every single instance. And that's my only job.
Fuck meow.
And that means I'm going to change things that need to be changed at a structural level. As someone who's an outsider and who's succeeded in changing things from the outside, as governor, I will do that every single day.
You know, one of the things that a governor of California is going to have to do is it's going to have to stand up to Trump and these MAGA Republicans who, I think Governor Newsom rightfully diagnosed the problem of California derangement syndrome, that despite California being the fourth largest economy in the world, it was a country, it's constantly under attack and being used as the heel or the foil in everything that MAGA says to the rest of the country. So one of the ways we're seeing, and let's get into this, one of the ways we're seeing that is Trump sending ICE, Gestapo, Border Patrol agents to terrorize the communities here. As the governor, how would you handle what Trump's been doing to places like Los Angeles and elsewhere, sending National Guard in and sending ICE agents in to harass and terrorize people? Would you do something differently than Governor Newsom? Do you like his approach? How would you handle it?
Of course, I got up.
Look, I give Gavin Newsom a lot of credit for standing up to Trump and to going online and to dealing with them every day and to trying to protect Californians. I started the Need to Impeach program in 2017. We collected 8 million signatures to oppose an illegal criminal administration, including 1 million in California. I have been standing up and organizing against Donald Trump for a long time. That's why I piled on to Prop 50. Because we cannot let him use the means of democracy to destroy our democracy. And so, of course, I will stand up every single day as aggressively as I possibly can, legally and also in the attention economy, to expose him for what he is, which is someone who's trying to invade his own country. Okay, but there's something else going on here that I think is really important, Ben. He has stupid policies. The kinds of things that he's talking about, that you were talking about today. We want to have 1950s cars. That's our answer in the 21st century. We're depending on the oil business to lead the United States of America. Incredibly stupid. And I think it's really important as the governor of California, yes, to play three-dimensional chess really aggressively to oppose him when he does all the things to attack California. But more than that, we have to be willing to go toe-to-toe on the numbers, because this is a failed president. He is somebody who runs his mouth but knows virtually nothing about the real economy. When he says that affordability is a scam, that means he's completely out of touch with the people. But he's also completely out of touch with the way business works and how his economy works. And we need somebody who's not really understands business and the economy and how to put people to work and how to things work for working families, to take him on to show there's a better way. We need to deal with our affordability crisis for darn sure and make sure that working families are taken care of. But we need to also make the point, we have a different system. We have a system that includes everybody, and we have a system that's succeeding and competing on a world level. And that's something he can't show that he can't understand. We need to have somebody who, and let me just make a quick point here, Ben, just as an example. Okay, he thinks drill, baby, drill. Okay, that's his plan. Oil in West Texas is under $60 a barrel. The United States produces 13.5 million barrels a day, which is a combination of Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Our lifting costs for oil is over $60 a barrel. So when he talks about this is our big chance to build an economy, actually the Saudis' listing cost is probably $12. We're the high cost producer in a commodity that's challenged. That is not the future of the United States. When we look around the world about what the 21st century looks like, it doesn't look one bit like a 1950s gas guzzling station wagon. It looks an awful lot like really inexpensive, really fantastic software enables electric vehicles. That's where the world is going. That's where the competition is. And as he lives in this delusional world of returning to the 1950s, the United States and California have to lead the way in terms of what's changing, in terms of leading that change, because that's what produces great jobs. That's what produces the kind of companies that come here to grow and explode here and drive our economy forward. So as governor of California, it's not just enough to say where he's wrong. We have to start talking about where we're right. We have to be showing that, in fact, he is an out of touch and delusional old man.
You know, and that kind of brings me to, I want to just, before we go, talk about your business background here and contrast it with Trump's, because, Trump tries to say that he's this great negotiator, but it seems that he's just announcing a bunch of fake deals that actually aren't signed agreements by anyone. And specifically, we see him getting outmaneuvered by China at every which way, whether they're holding back their rare earth elements.
New Eden.
Whether they are hanging over the head of Trump, the fact that they'll just stop buying soybeans and produce from our farmers. By the way, these are things that China has threatened past presidencies. It's not unique. Just past presidents and past leaders have used their negotiating power of the United States from positions of strength to push back. And it seems every time China pushes on these levers, Trump immediately folds without actually playing the cards that the United States of America has, so much so that we wouldn't even let the president of Taiwan use American airspace because Xi Jinping says, I don't want you to do that. So I just wonder, from your perspective as a business person who arose out of the hedge fund space, as you see Trump's approach to that, you must have strong opinions.
Well, before I go into Donald Trump specifically, let me say what the Chinese call Donald Trump. They call him the nation builder. And the nation they're referring to is their own. They view him as the weakest possible opponent, the person who is letting them move to the front of the pack in the world.
Yeah.
And look, what we've seen with Donald Trump is exactly what you see with every bully in the world. They only respond to force, to power, to strength. And the Chinese are showing strength, and he folds. And that's exactly, if you're nice to bullies, if you appease bullies, they think you're soft, they think you're weak, and they take more. The only thing that they respond to is strength, because at their core, they're weak and scared. So there's no question here. California is the fourth biggest economy in the world. We lead the world and we compete successfully around the world. We need to stand up for ourselves every single day as strongly as we possibly can. He is a failed business person. He's a guy who inherited a peck of money. He is also a very talented communicator. Let's give the devil his due. He is very good at talking. In the attention economy, he is very good. Unfortunately, he's completely divorced from the real economy. And it's critical for California, for the citizens of California, for the working families of California, that we have a governor who lives in the real economy and delivers results the way I've delivered results over the last 15 years. I left my business to give back to California. I've done that for 15 years. The real question here is, do you understand deeply the numbers? Because there's a real thing going on here. We don't have enough optimism and hope around this country and in this state. And people think that hope is something that descends from on high. It is not. The reason I'm optimistic is I'm willing to get into the details and study them and figure out how to get to a good place. And hope is something that is forged, that is built through work and struggle and attention to detail. And that's why I'm so optimistic about California meeting this affordability challenge, solving this affordability challenge, but more than that, creating a new model for success in the United States. We are the state that creates the future, but that future has to include everybody. It has to include every working person, every family here, not just millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires. This is a state that succeeds, but we succeed together. And we are data-driven, we are hardworking, we pay attention to detail, and we succeed. That's why I want to be governor.
Tom, where can people learn more about the campaign and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Look, I would love people to go to tomsteyer.com. I would love people to, try and understand where I'm really coming from and look, to me, I have a love affair with California because I love California people. That's the truth. That's why I'm running for governor. I think we're in a crisis where California citizens are not being well treated by their government. That's the truth. I want people to understand who I am, how passionate I am to win that fight for them. But I'm also passionate to represent what we do as a state and how successful we are, how competitive we are, and a story of a different vision of how we go forward into the 21st century. I think it's absolutely critical that that happen. I want to do it. I'm determined to do it, and I'm passionate about doing that job.
Tom Steyer, Democratic candidate for governor of California. Thanks so much for joining us, Tom.
Ben, thank you very much for having me.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged?
Okay. Technically, I've gotten a new one along the way, but I am so done with the morning news for now. So I'm going to stop the stream here and have myself a break and return. Don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll be doing something. Till then, this is Old Mage Guy. Have a good night, day, whatever it is for you. And